shirt.
My leisure jacket. My leisure. I have a goal.
Smoking jacket.
No. When I was a kid, my mom used to watch. Remember Billy Squire did those videos? Like he filmed like 3 videos in the same day. We all watched on MTV.
Right.
She'd be like, "I just wish you would wear a blazer and a t-shirt underneath."
A blazer. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
a blazer and a t-shirt. You need to wear.
It's like, isn't it? Don't they call that a smoking jacket as well?
But I don't
Wasn't
smoke.
that what Hugh Hefner used to wear all the time? They called it a smoking jacket. He'd always have like the crushed red velvet.
You're just tempted. Hold on. Hold on.
Dude.
If you want to play around,
dude, that's fucking. You got the great the backdrop with the bricks. I love it.
The bricks. I watched all these hip hop DJs, and I was like, I'm going bricks. They use bricks, like they straight steal from metal. They're more metal than metal. Metal guys are trying not to be metal. Hip hop guys are like, we're fucking. You guys use bricks and chains, and we're into it. So I went straight up metal background.
Dude, that looks great.
And everybody goes bites for the rainbow, like right away. Like it doesn't throw you off because you invented it. But if some guy that hasn't been bad in a while, he sees that sign and gets taken back.
Right.
And then there's some of the older rockers being older than us, guys that we like, they get very angry at Kiss. There's either into Kiss or not into Kiss. Right. But I've watched some real fits about Kiss.
Kiss, I never was into Kiss in the beginning. I mean, I knew about them, but I was still, in my late 70s, I was all skating. And even in the early 80s as a teenager, 14, 15, 16, I was full, The Clash, Devo, Boomtown Rats, 999, Ice House, all the weird punk.
And you really were. That's so weird to me because I missed it. I wasn't cool. I guess because I had to pick a team growing up. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and the thing is, because I was a skater, everything related to skating was all that more obscure and punk music. So when I would read skate magazines like Skateboarder or Skateboard World or Action Now, which would cover like skateboarding, BMX, surfing, and then they'd have bands as well. I remember reading about, the Go-Go's playing the Whiskey a Go-Go or the Ramones records or the Clash when they first came out, and Billy Idol in Generation X, all that stuff. That was all the kind of music that people would listen to at like skate ramps. And somebody had a backyard ramp. Everybody would show up on a Saturday. Somebody would have a boombox and they'd just be flipping tapes. But often it would be punk bands. Black Flag, JFA, Sex Pistols, all that kind of stuff, the P-52s, all that stuff is what I listened to because it was skate music. There was some Black Sabbath thrown in there. Occasionally there'd be a Van Halen song or something like that. But it wasn't until like junior year, I remember everybody playing and listening to, and I remember hearing Loverboy all the time.
Yeah, they got a pass. They got a rock pass.
Yeah. 80, 82, 83, they put out those 2 records back to back they were all wearing the red leather. And as much as they had, poppy songs, they were a rock band. I mean, they had guitar player was a ripping guitarist. Mike was a killer singer. The drummer, right? With the 15, a 15-piece drum set with a single kick. He had like 12 rototoms.
Yeah.
That kind of shit. So it was like when I heard Loverboy, and then when Pyromania got released, I mean, literally that one of those songs was on the local radio station every hour for like a year. And that's when my friends started getting me more into metal. And then they said, hey, we're going to these concerts. And
did you go Pat Benatar at all before then? Because I feel like Loverboy and Pat Benatar was like one of the first. I decided I'm definitely not gay as soon as I saw Pat Benatar in that little, which would have been fine, but I just realized I wasn't, in those videos of that Loverboy era.
Yeah. Great stuff. I mean, MTV was definitely the catalyst for me liking music, but I never really looked at, like, in the first few years, I'm watching all this. And of course, all that stuff is, mind-boggling. Missing persons, Dale's up there, sexy as fuck. Terry's back on the drums, the coolest looking drummer ever. Terry Bozzio. Badass looking motherfucker, but he had the eyeliner, his hair was spiked, skinny and just fucking lean. And he'd hit the hi-hat. It looked like he made faces on the drums like George Lynch makes faces playing guitar.
Dude, I saw him at the amusement park because I wasn't allowed to go to concerts. I was allowed to go to the amusement park. He was at the front of the stage with like electronic drums. It was insane.
Right. Yeah. So seeing all that, like, I loved it. You see something like Flock of Seagulls, you're like, okay, that guy's kind of spooky looking and weird, but his hair, like I wonder how much hairspray he uses to get his hair like that. But none of that made me want to be a singer. None of that made me want to be in a band. When I went to the Ozzy show, March 8th, 1984, I turned 18 6 days earlier, senior in high school, and Motley Crue comes out. It's funny because I saw Kiss a month earlier, but it was the Lick It Up tour. Lick It Up tour, February 84. Gene's already what, 35? I mean, those guys are mid-30s. They're 10 albums, they're 10 records, 10 years in. 6, 7, 8 records, a couple live records. Motley Crue comes out, and Vince runs out, 22, 23, tan, blonde.
Oh, I saw that. It's the same. I saw bowl tours in Jersey. Exactly. You're just wasted open, taking over the earth.
Yeah, and
the blue net. It was the blue fishnet era.
Yeah, Motley, seeing that show, that did something to me that completely changed my path in life. I mean, because I saw Kiss with, the Lick It Up tour though, Heaven, Vandenberg, openers, whatever. Just it didn't hit me like when I saw Motley. It was over. I mean, I would have, and I've said this before, if I would have went backstage that night and they would have said, "Kid, this is goat's blood. Drink it out of a skull." Dude, I would have done that whole fucking thing right there.
Dude, I went back to school repeating the lines. We like to eat pussy at 4 o'clock in the morning. Tommy Lee's like, I'm back here drinking a beer and I can't hear shit.
Right.
You ever climb a tree? It was like, what the fuck? This is.
Yeah, and reading the lyrics, dude, I even pulled it out. I have the original. Shouted the Devil Gatefold that I bought in 1984 for $5.99.
Oh my God.
And this insert, I mean the vinyl, dude, I don't even know how many times I probably played this. Probably been played 10,000 times. Look, I even put tape on it to tape it.
Oh, dude, I got those. My life plan was that thank you list. That's the only reason I work with Kim Fowler. Those thank yous. We thank the LAPD, the Robin King Crosby. Come on. Right. Oh.
Yeah, and I'm reading these lyrics, and it's like all the words, there's all this, wolves and razors, blood and skulls and dark and night and rape and howling. It was just like
so fucking good, dude. So fucking good. Like the rainbow. I started calling up the rainbow saying that bands play. It was a way of, well, what's crazy is we liked rap, but they offered you and me a lifestyle. You in Wisconsin, me in Jersey. This month it's this, next month it'll be strip clubs from them, or next month it's glam, but they always gave you a new lifestyle.
So when I met you, I can remember just clear as probably you do. I was standing in front of Gazzari's, and you and Jamie, you guys walked up to me.
Oh, yeah.
You were totally disheveled, fucking pants tore, scarves hanging, bangle bracelets up to your forearm, leather jackets, eyeliner, headband, fucking, and you walk up to me, you're like, "Are you Stevie Rachelle?"
Dude, well, you got to think, so that was July of 88. That's July of 88.
Okay, so I'm there exactly 1 year, because I got there June 26th, the year in 87. So a year later, you're on the strip.
A few months before, I'm working at Acme in Lincroft, New Jersey, and I asked to put the magazines to be part of so I can look at the rock scene. And I just always remember you were in rock scene. And I was like, this dude, the name, the logo, like, oh my God, this is perfect. And I hadn't heard it, nothing. It was just, there's no YouTube, and then there I am, and there's the guy. Oh, he's going to be.
I remember too, I remember I asked you guys, you're standing there, and I'm like, what's up? And I heard your accent, and then you said something. You're like, oh, we're from Jersey. And I'm like, when did you guys move here? And you guys looked at each other, and you're like, we just got here. And I'm like, when? You know, and you're like 2 hours ago. Pulled into town at like 6 o'clock that night. You guys drove right to Sunset Strip.
No, didn't even drive. We took planes, met at an airport, and I remember we got in a super shuttle. I didn't even know what a super shuttle was, and the guy was yelling at the lights to change, going, "Give me some pussy, give me some for the light." And I was like, he's like, "Where do you want me to bring you?" And I just said my Nikki 6 manual, somewhere that's open 24 hours on the Sunset Strip. Dropped at Ben Frank's, you know, within, you know, the next night, first night out, walk up to the Strip, and there you were. Fucking holy shit.
Yeah, that was great, because the thing is, you know, we were living vicariously through those magazines.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like we said, this is pre-internet, pre-anything like that. So everything we read about was in, and this was before I really paid attention to metal. I don't think Metal Edge was really in full force. It was rock scene, maybe Faces, Hit Parader, Circus. Everything I read was about Motley Crue, and they played the, you know, Rat was at the Whiskey, and Black and Blue was at the Troubadour, and Dokken was at the Roxy. And I'm thinking, everybody that I like, all the big Wasp was playing the Troubadour, every King Cobra was playing the Such and Sunset Strip. Every band that I was seeing in magazines like Kerrang that had a Warlock. That gotta buy that. You got home and listen to it, you know. LOVE, I need my love machine. Blackie's fucking with the fucking, you know, the bass. And I'm like, these guys are all great. Every band was coming from the Sunset Strip. Every single band. And I was like, I got to go there.
Yeah, that's what you just.
That's the promised land, because that's where all these bands are coming from that I'm now not only reading about, but I'm seeing them in concert. I'm hearing them on the radio. Now I'm seeing, you know, Looks That Kill, Too Young to Fall in Love on MTV. And I'm like, and then you find out the video, filmed in Marina del Rey, filmed in Los Angeles, filmed in Pasadena, and, you know, all the Van Halen stuff. I was like, gotta go there, you know, because I was like, if I'm going to play music, I got to go to, if I was going to be in the rodeo, I should go to Texas. If I'm going to surf, I should go to Hawaii. If I'm going to play in a rock band, it's not going to work staying in Oshkosh or Wisconsin.
Dude, and walking up the Strip, seeing you. What is it? Well, you wrote me an email once. I still have printed out the feeling of that. Like there's no books that capture the feeling. There's a lot of books of that electricity of that quarter mile. When I saw you and just fucking that was just what was it, man?
Yeah. You know, it's weird because it's like, I've kind of given this analogy to other people. It was before our time, but we weren't part of and didn't go to the Studio 54 scene in New York City in the late 70s when disco was happening and people were doing coke and you know, that whole disco movement, and then what became kind of a punk movement with the Ramones and the CBGBs and all that. Like, we were also too young for that. But the Sunset Strip in its own right, and it's funny you say quarter mile. That's about what it is. It might even be less.
Yeah.
If you go the Viper Room, which was the Central at that point, and then you go one block, a short one block, mind you, caddy corner is the Whiskey, and then you go another block and it's the Roxy, and right next door is the Rainbow, and then you go across the street from the Bank, which is another, God, what is it, maybe 100 yards, and you're at Kazari's. And then you go another 100 yards, there's the Gil Turners, there's Geffen Records.
Yes.
Remember the mail slot? We'd all put our flyers inside we put our flyers inside the mail slot at Geffen.
Oh, I was going to go over there once and break in and put my cassette in all the guys' fucking cars. So they start
the whole entryway was just covered with like flyers and stickers and tape.
Yeah. And they'd lie to us, like, guys, like, what was that guy, Jeff Fenster? They'd act like they were going to sign us so they could come see all the girls at Blackboard Jungle and Tough shows. In hindsight,
saying they were like, you know, worked for somebody or were, you know, had an in with the A&R guy or whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean that insanity, the Strip in those 2 block, 300, 400 yard, quarter mile area, it was just crazy. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people, and you can't describe it. If you weren't there, you won't know. And even the bands that didn't go on to sell millions of records or even get the major record deal. There's part of that, you know, when I message with like Billy DeVette of Paradise, you know, through Facebook, or I talk to Jeff Bebuk, who was Jeff Blood
Bad
from
Blood.
Bad
Yeah.
Blood. Remember Jeff? You know, and guys like you and people that I've known that were like, we're on the cusp of getting that major deal or being that next level, and being on one of those rungs of the Sunset Strip scene, you know, talking with Jim Torgerson, who was in Virgin, and the guy from Creature, you know. And I remember talking to the guy from Creature at one point, the drummer, and I said, dude, I still can't get this out of my head. I saw you at the Troubadour and you had a double bass kit and you were wearing the fucking Stack heels. I mean, when Eric Carr played drums, he was in fucking tennis shoes.
Yeah, you're right.
He was in tennis shoes. The guy from Creature was wearing the Simmons boots playing double bass. I'm like, dude, how the fuck did you do that with fucking the bottom of your shoes was this tall?
And there's so many things like that. You go, did that happen? And like when it affirmed, like I remember being at the Tuff Muff Mansion, you bringing me there, give me a demo with Warrant. And I swear to God that you told me Prince was working with them. And all these years, it always stuck. Nah, that couldn't have been true. And I just said the Josh and the Nothing But a Good Time. Like, oh, yeah, Prince was working with. You're like, that really did happen.
Yeah.
That really, like, all that stuff did happen. The guy did from Fatal Attraction walk with his girlfriend on a leash.
Right. Yeah, Trey. The singer was Trey, right? The black guy?
It was madness, dude. It was just like complete anarchy. And you and I did this thing that I swear to God, 90% of the Strip didn't want to do, which was we were determined to work and make it happen. Like I remember seeing a picture of Burnett and literally tearing up the end of the night I met you. Like, my mom just let me grow my hair and look at these guys with perfect hair. Like, how am I ever going to count? And I was like, how is this going to happen? But then you realize so many people got engulfed in the party that they didn't want to do the work.
Right. No, and that's part of it as well. And it's funny because, you know, when you say live the lifestyle, you know, we had 4 guys in the band that all lived in the same apartment. And as much as we were a team, we saw the same vision, I guess, and we kind of were going for the same goal. There was really 2 parts of the team. You know, it's like offense and defense. Yeah. Like me and Michael were, for the most part, sober. Michael would have a beer here and there. Michael was a chain smoker. But him and I would be up at 7:30 in the morning. And if I was, Michael would be up first and he'd be like, dude, we got to go. I'd be putting on my sweatpants and putting my hair in a ponytail. And we'd be out the door and we'd be driving in his beat up black Chevy van over the canyons, going to the P.O. box, stopping at Music Connection, stopping at Band Magazine because the new issue was coming out, stopping at Rock City News, picking up a bundle of magazines, going down Hollywood Boulevard, hitting all the stores, going down Melrose. We'd be running all over all day. Come home at 2:30. Todd and George still sleeping in their room because they didn't get home till 6 in the morning. They're out and getting drunk. But there was 2 parts of us. And then when it came time for rehearsal, we got to rehearsal. We did the rehearsals, and then on the flyer nights, on the pasting nights, I remember we would go to rehearsal. Then we'd come home. We'd put on the old pants, a pair of old jeans and old tennis shoes, and then it'd be like, okay, Todd and George, you guys got a case of 5,000 flyers, a 5-gallon bucket of paste from fucking, you know, Home Depot, all this tape and everything else, staple guns. You guys start on Highland by the Hollywood Bowl and start going down, and we get the Sunset turn. Me and Michael, we would go to Melrose first, and then we'd come up Doheny, and then we'd go on Sunset from Gil Turner's and go down. And then we'd like meet in the middle. And be like, where'd you guys go? Oh, where'd you do that? Oh, I did that. Okay, yeah, go hit La Brea. Oh, we already did 2. We did La Brea from Hollywood to Sunset. Okay, we're gonna go hit it from Sunset to Santa Monica. You know, and
it was straight war. Yeah,
3, 4 in the morning. And I remember the one night we were out, me and Michael, we pasted every fucking pole with bright pink and green and yellow, hot pink, you know, neon colored flyers that just said Tuff. Badass nasty.
That's what you always said. That's what I learned from you. One saying, I remember I took a Springsteen quote, teenage tramps in skin tight pants. The logo, which was the most crushing logo on a Strip, in one line. You always said.
Right. And all we did, we pasted every fucking pole for hours. I mean, hours.
I mean, dude, it was
And
like
we started-
where Florentine Gardens were. You guys had that wall. I mean, it was walls what you did. It was just insane.
Yeah, and it's like if there was like there could be like 100 flyers in the middle, but if one person had a flyer like on the far end, go cover it. Cover that fucking flyer.
Was anybody as good as you? Or I always wonder, did you get that from? Was Poison that good? I don't know whether they were.
Well, I wasn't here for Poison, but I heard they were. It's funny because when I got here, I remember we rehearsed at some point at a place over off like Pico in Washington.
You sent me there with Johnny Dallas with the cigarettes. You handed me out with the cigarette, the stunt man.
And there was Poison flyers over
The
there.
pole still had, there were still remnants. Yeah.
What the fuck? You guys were flying over here? I mean, that's like 10 miles.
Remember his Dolly Parton wife and the cigarettes in the ears after you were done? You handed me off.
So yeah, we're basically, me and Michael spent hours. We pasted every fucking pole. And then we got down and we started to turn around. It's like 3 a.m. We're fucking wrecked.
Yeah.
We started to turn around. We come down. We wanted to look at our work. Every flyer was covered with Taz flyers. And I'm like, those weren't there. We covered all that. Like, those are what? And I go, dude, stop the truck. Michael had the truck pulled over. I look, dude, all of them were brand new. I touched it and I could see all our.
It starts to get thick. Yeah.
And I was like, they're behind us. They're somewhere. And so we're now pulling out our flyers. We're pulling theirs down. We start, all of a sudden the fucking Taz van pulls up, screeches. KK, the singer, Kenny, and a roadie or two jumped out. And they're fucking, what the fuck are you doing? Dude, me and KK were like this far from each other. God. We're getting ready to grab each other. It's 3:30 a.m. I'm like, what the fuck, you guys? They're like, well, you covered our shit first. And I guess what ended up happening is they were leaving rehearsal or something and saw us covering all their stuff. And they had just posted a bunch of stuff like a couple of days earlier. And again, like I said, there could be 100 flyers on a wall here. Cover every corner. We don't want anything. We don't want the guitar player's headstock showing, nothing. This is Tuff's wall, 100% us. Cover everything. And we did that. And so somehow they had seen us doing it. So what they did is they went home, they got all their shit, they went down, and they were, dude, like a block behind us. So everything me and Michael did, then we'd get in the car, we'd drive a block. They'd fucking go out, cover all the poles. We'd get in the car, drive a block, they'd follow us, pull over, cover all the poles. The whole fucking night, dude, we spent the entire night covering. And then on the way home, everything was covered with Taz flyers. Dude, it was so fucking big.
Oh, that's why the random flyer, Tuff flyer on an off ramp where you guys risk life and limb was that. Well, I remember seeing like certain ones that I pass every time I left the valley on Highland, like on the underpass. We're like,
when you're going onto the freeway.
Yeah, total modern gangbanger style. Total like, how did that guy, the original taggers? Like, wow, he flirted with death on that one. There would be like one, and it would just be under there for like years.
Right.
Oh my God. Just so, did it blow your mind that you were actually doing it, that a year later you're in these magazines? I mean, dude, that just seemed unbelievable. I mean,
well, honestly, we were in the magazines even quicker than that because I got here in June, joined the band technically July 11th is when they told me I'm in the group. We shot with Gene Kirkland, our first photo shoot a couple weeks later. Within a week, maybe 10 days, shot with Gene Kirkland. And then we put our first ad out, and the first show we played, we were second slot on a warrant show. It was first slot, then we were second, pair of dice.
I remember.
Dice, not the palm trees, but the dice was support, fourth slot or third slot. Warrant was the headliner at fourth. And then if you remember, the Roxy or the Whiskey would have a fifth band. They would have a cleanup that would go after.
Yeah. Oh, that's the headlining spot, as they would call it. Like, I got to do that after the Zeros and Pretty Boy Floyd and play to 7 people. It was my first show at the Roxy.
Right.
Yeah.
So then that was August, and we put out our full page ad, which probably hit in late July or early August. That was basically like Tuff, playing with the state, blah, 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 Sarkis Entertainment, the Roxy Theater, whatever. Kenny Kerner saw that. Kenny Kerner called the Tuff hotline and said, I want to talk to you guys, blah, 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 blah. Michael calls Kenny Kerner, which at the time I didn't know who he was.
Right.
Had no idea. Then we went to his office. He was the editor of Rock Scene, and they were in the RCA building on Sunset Boulevard.
I remember.
Downtown.
Yeah. The RC. Yeah.
Vine, kind of on
Yeah.
that side.
That BMG. Yeah.
Went up to this, high rise, go to this office, and we find out then that he's not only the editor for Rock Scene, but they were putting out all the offshoot magazines, Zing, Teen Machine, Rock Hunks, all that stuff, all the teeny bopper stuff. And he loved the band. He's like, you're going to be a star, kid. And of course, at that time, he had talked about working with Bill Aucoin. And then we came to find out, or I guess I came to find out, he had produced the first 2 Kiss records, and he was tight with Bill and knew everybody, Kiss,
Right.
Billy Idol, Motley Crue. And I remember him saying, we're going to do some shots with the band, but we want to do some stuff with you. We're going to put it in a magazine, with all the stars, Bon Jovi, Mark Slaughter, Kip Winger, Vince Neil, and you. And I'm sitting in this chair,
dude. And you're straight from Wisconsin. I feel like that's one of you're straight teen canteen. You weren't like traipsing the city with Iggy Pop or nothing. You're like
fresh off the boat. I wasn't even in LA at that point, maybe more than 2 months. And then we did the shoots, and Gene Kirkland submitted all these photos. And within a couple months, by Christmas, we were popping up in everything.
Everything.
Yeah, like in like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 magazines. Plus, Kerrang! At that point, if you remember, was Kerrang! Weekly or bi-weekly?
I would think bi-weekly. It took me about a month.
Kerrang! It wasn't monthly. That was that was a regular issue.
But you were doing something, and the thing was, everything in life, there's things that every band does, but every band wasn't doing what you guys found some hole in the fucking thing, and it wasn't happening for you. Had what no other unsigned band was doing.
And like the Kelv Hellraisers, rest in peace to Kelv and Dave Reynolds and those guys that were writing for Metal Forces and Kerrang! And all those Euro magazines too, which a lot of those picked up what was happening on the Sunset Strip, just based off the fact that Poison had just exploded about 6 months earlier.
Yeah.
And then there was the GNR buzz that they were signed and their record was coming out, and Faster's record was about to come out, and LA Guns was just about to come out. And then, at that point, what Motley and Rat did, that was like the first wave. Motley, Rat, Dokken, Wasp, Armored Saint, Metallica, Slayer, and then the second wave after Poison was the GNRs, the LA Guns, the Faster Pussycats.
Yeah.
And then it was, Warrant, Bang Tango, Bullet Boys, Salty Dog.
Oh, they were so good.
And by that point, it was at a fever pitch that Hollywood was the place to be. So guys like me from Wisconsin were going there. Guys like you from New Jersey, the guys from Sweet Savage who are from a few different places, but kind of hubbed out of Texas. They came out, and then it was fucking pandemonium on the Strip. I mean, just bands for like the hottest bands from Florida, the hottest bands from Texas, the hottest bands from Denver, Chicago. You name it.
And it just became real. It just became like this could really happen. I mean, you guys were just the country club. You were playing like, dude, I mean, way bigger than half the sign bands. You were doing way more.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, like usual, when the Nationals come through, they wanted to find the biggest local drawing band to be as the support, the local heroes, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so it was Warrant for a while there, but Warrant obviously got signed by mid 88, mid late 88, and then started recording the record, which came out in January 89. So Tuff was the next biggest band. So every national we got to open up for. We opened up for Bullet Boys, and
I was at the Santa Monica Civic. You, DeMals, and
what does that hold? 3,000-4,000 people.
Looked like an arena show to me. I mean, it was arena level.
Yeah. We opened up for Vinnie Vincent Invasion at the Palace, which that's 1,500 people, 1,800 people.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we played the second to last show that the Vinnie Vincent Invasion ever played, because at that point they were about to fall apart. They were falling apart, because I remember when we got there, we loaded in, and Vinnie was he was up there with his guitar by himself.
Right.
Just wailing away for like an hour. And then he left. And then the other guy showed up, Bobby playing drums, Dana on bass, and Mark singing and playing rhythm guitar because Mark can play great guitar. So then they did a sound check as a 3-piece without Vinny. And I thought that was really weird.
Whoa.
One more show after this that night, and then they broke up. And of course, Slaughter, obviously, Stick It To You was a perfect title because they basically put out their record and went huge and sold platinum. And I think Kiss even took them on that first tour, which was kind of a double fuck you to
oh yeah, I didn't even think it. And so that's the thing about Tuff that I always thought, now I can word it, but your cultural impact, like Faster Pussycat, was way bigger than the album sales. You were having so much more impact on rock than 70 to 80% of the bands on Headbangers Ball that a few months ago when I lived in Jersey, I just gather around Headbangers Ball and try to figure out a plan. I mean, Tora, Roxy Blue, those bands are all great. That's great. But they didn't have a quarter of the impact you were having on people like me that made me want to move to California because of partly because of a band like Tuff, along with Crew and stuff.
Well, and something that we started to do even from the beginning, as you saw, everything we did was up several notches. When we made a flyer, it was laid out by like a graphics company. All the photo shoots were from, what became basically the big names in photography: Zlozauer, Hames, Weiss, LaFerman, Gene Kirkland, Eddie Malouk, all the biggest photographers. So our photos looked great. We had artwork that was done properly. And instead of just doing the flyers, we would put our money where our mouth is. And as a local band, like this out.
Man.
Edit frame.
Jesus, that's beautiful. I can. It's awesome.
And, we had done over the years multiple posters. Like every year we would do, as kids remember growing up, you'd go to Spencer's in the back and you'd look at all the posters like Farrah Fawcett, Cheryl Tiegs, and then there'd be, Enrique Suave or whoever, whatever was in there, David Lee Roth, the famous one here with the chaplets.
Dude, I still bought this in a weird poster shop. There's still some weird poster shops. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tuff would make these posters. We would go to the next level and go, let's do flyers, whatever, but let's make sure there's a fucking legit 24 by 36 wall poster, like you buy at Spencer's, and make those, which wasn't cheap. You get those printed, and then we give them to the clubs. And if we were going to play somewhere else, Phoenix, Albuquerque, Kansas City, Austin, Salt Lake, San Francisco, wherever we went, we'd send those ahead as well. So now they're promoting it and putting it on the wall like a national band is coming and looking like we looked, with photography that was shot by the Hames, the Zlozauers, the Weisses.
It's so bright and so vibrant, dude. It was just so Crew level, if not more. It was almost.
And then the same with the production of the show, as you remember, we'd pull up and it's like we had as many road cases as a lot of bands that were going out on the road. We'd have full stacks and ramps and backdrops, and Michael's drum kits were always airbrushed. The guitars we always had endorsements, so the guys had a row of guitars.
Oh, that banner on the Tuff flyers with all the endorsements. Hey, I was thinking, speaking of, you evolved to that black leather look. That's a very black leather look. But at first,
in this one.
Yeah, it's and even the album cover is very black oriented, which I love. But I also love that post Van Halen mismatched bright colors, whites. What was that conscious where you switched the color schemes?
Well, when the thing is, Tuff kind of went through a few little phases. It's funny because my initial exposure, along with the Motleys and the Rats, was I love Judas Priest.
Yes.
Point of Entry, British Steel, Screaming for Vengeance, all those, those Priest songs. I liked Maiden. Obviously I wasn't Bruce Dickinson, but I liked some of the metal stuff.
Yeah, we all grew up similar. Yeah.
And Helix had a little bit of, they were a Canadian band. They had a little bit of they were a heavy metal band,
Michael J. Fox tried out for Helix. Michael J. Fox tried out for Helix, by the way.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Is Michael J. Fox Canadian?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense.
I stumped the Trump with that one, by the way.
So what we did is now I joined the band, and the party rock thing is exploding. Even Motley went from as I quoted some of the Shout at the Devil lyrics with the love, the razors and the blood and the wolves and the, all the demonic stuff. And then when they went into the Theater of Pain thing, it's like Vince is in pink tights. And
and I loved it. That's my favorite Crew record. So, okay.
Singing about, eating sushi. And it was like a whole different kind of appeal, which was more Hanoi, Poison, Van Halen-ish, kind of partyish and, bright and cheery.
And I feel like Van Halen pulled the image out of the 70s into the 80s, and you could put Leopard against jeans, and it was like that Poison thing of anything goes. It looks like sprinkles. You know what I mean?
Right. And so when I got in the band, the band had went from Todd's original roots and George. They were metal kids growing up, because Todd's older brothers, as most know, or if they don't, Todd's older brothers are Kenny Chason, who was the bassist in Keel, and his other brother is Greg Chason, who was the bassist in Badlands. Also was up for the Ozzy gig a few times, played with Surgical Steel, which is a metal band out of Phoenix. And Phoenix had a very big metal scene. Not only Halford lived there, but like Sacred Reich was from there.
Didn't George play with Newstead or something? I remember you telling me.
Flotsam and Jetsam is from there. George used to jam and play with Jason pre-Flotsam and Jetsam in a band they were going to call Metal Beast.
Yeah.
So all Sacred Reich, Flotsam and Jetsam, all these kind of metal, progressive metal, thrash metal kind of bands. And Rob Halford was living there. Obviously part of the, the Keel guys were there, Surgical Steel, all that. Icon, I think Icon is
Icon, yeah.
So they were kind of being influenced. And at this point, Todd and George were a few years younger. So their older brothers are playing in their metal bands in 80, 81, 82, and Todd and George are like 14, 15. So when they first started, there's been a few pictures I've showed of Todd and George in some early formations of their bands where they're wearing the Screaming for Vengeance kind of Judas Priest looking metal stuff with the spikes and the arm wraps. And it was more Armored Saint and Wasp than Poison,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But then Poison came out 85, 86 and had this whole like Van Halen on steroids party rock vibe. And Todd and George, with their earliest formation of Tuff, played on a couple of those shows. They said the girl draw was like insanity. It was like 300 girls and like 10 guys.
Love it.
We're just like, fuck all the sausage rock. Let's put some bleach and some highlights in our hair, and let's write some party songs like Party Tonight and Forever Yours, and Boys Will Be Boys, and so that's kind of where they kind of evolved with what was happening, and so they started doing more of that. And the same thing was happening with me. I started with Shout at the Devil and Love Machine by Wasp and Helix, Heavy Metal Love, and now suddenly I'm kind of graduating, and then I heard Round and Round, and I was like, wow, this is
that's where it divided. Post Us Festival, even when it started, you started to have a few options. It wasn't like because Crew, no one gave you shit for liking Crew when you like Maiden and Priest, but then it started dividing to me.
And so what happened by the time I got in the band is we were definitely wanting to be like Motley Crue, Van Halen, Rat, Poison, whatever you want to call it. It was all stuff that we were like, these guys are having a good time. These guys are playing music that's fun. I don't want to write about, I'm not Neil Peart. I'm not writing sophisticated lyrics about, Power Windows and 2112
and also tons of fun shit to look at. You look at Rat, Tuff, Crew. I always said there's like a rabbit's tail here, a bandana. It's almost like looking into a Picasso painting. That's there's a lot. Whoa.
That's what Stephen Pearcy called it, fashion rock. They played rock music, but there was some fashion involved with it, with a little bit of pizzazz. So when I first get in the band, you look at the first couple photo shoots we did. I mean, we're full Steel Panther. It's fucking all over the place,
I love it.
I'm wearing fucking.
There's one with you in the white. I love like the white shirt.
I'm wearing like zebra and a fucking a black vest, and then Michael's got something on, and George has got like a gold belt, and Todd's got like a red shirt and a silver this, and one guy's got a cowboy hat, one guy's hair is bleached, one guy's is jet.
Forgot about the cowboy hat.
Kind of all over, but at some point we kind of wanted to and we were getting the Poison thing hard, and at that point. Poison was kind of new to me because I had only heard of them since probably late 86.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd been less than a year, but now they blew up. So now that they sold 3 million records and they had 2, 3, 4 videos on MTV, everyone's like, this is Poison. You know, anything you do that's similar to that. Now we were kind of getting you guys are clones, you're a Brett wannabe, you guys are Poison wannabes. So at some point when we wrote Good Guys Wear Black, which was a little bit more metal,
yeah,
a little bit more priestish, a little bit
it's
more.
got like an Armored Saint type rolling rip while the bass stays steady.
It's just a little bit more heavier than Summertime Goodbye or Round 'Em Up, you know?
Right.
So that's when we said, let's just come out all black, you know, black pants, black shirts, darker colored guitars. Like we did away with the, you know, George used to have guitars like the white Ironbird with the badass nasty painted on it, or Todd would have like, you know, a bass with all different colored things on it that would say like sex, you know, hot tits, pussy, you know, all kinds of just crazy shit. But we were just like, let's strip all the candy coated shit away and just make it black. Yeah. So that's when we started going a little darker and a little heavier, you know, tried to be, you know, Ain't Worth a Dime, real busy, heavy guitar riff, bass riff. And even Sinner Street, that's got a little bit of snottiness too, but it's also kind of got that razory, just don't fuck with us.
Did Sinner Street didn't make it on the album, did it? Did Sinner Street make it? No.
That was on the first demo we did in 88.
Yeah, I remember.
Spring of 88 at Sound City, which was Round 'Em Up, Summertime Goodbye.
Oh, I love that jam.
Want Trouble, You Got It. Produced by Jesse Harms, who's the keyboard player from Sammy Hagar's band.
Okay.
Also played keys with David Lee Roth. But we were in the big room at Sound City, and it's funny because in looking back, I remember them talking about, you know, Fleetwood Mac's recorded here. I think Tom Petty was mixing in one of the rooms down the hallway, but I didn't really care.
Yeah.
I didn't care that Tom Petty was there. Like if somebody said Stephen Piercy's in the lounge, I would have ran over an old lady in a wheelchair to go say hi to Stephen Piercy. You know, I didn't care what Tom Petty was doing, or that Stevie Nicks was there the day before.
Yeah, I get it.
And then our second demo was early 89. We did it at Sunset Sound and then mixed it at Amigo. And something I found out years later, Warren Croyle had produced that. I called him up when I was putting out a record, and I said, listen, I need to get some details about that session. I said, tell me something about those studios. And he goes, well, you know where we mixed it at Amigo? He goes, that's where Metallica mixed Master of Puppets at that studio. Wow. Oh, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You know, I was like, just finding that little tidbit out that, you know, the guys in Metallica and Cliff Burton sat in that room at one point and they mixed down, you know, one of the greatest rock records ever. And
do you ever think that they did that while you were sitting in Wisconsin? Sometimes I think when I'd get, I was in school with basically trying to ask to go to the teen club from my mom, and these guys were living that there, and we ended up there. It's pretty huge.
So, you know, but, you know, at some point the phases of the image, you know, and we were around the scene for a few years. I mean, 87 was the first summer I was in the band.
Yeah.
Then we were around in 88. With the Summertime Goodbye, Round 'Em Up demo, and those were the songs we were pushing. And Summertime Goodbye, you know, we still put that in the set to this day. That's got a great hook.
That's my favorite. That's one of my favorites. Maybe it's just the cassette that you handed me in 88, in the summer of 88. But
that's got an undeniable hook. That guitar part that George put in there, it's great.
And the lyric is something that everybody goes through. Everybody's, no matter what,
everybody has a teenage girlfriend that they fell in love with over the summer, and then you go back to school, and then you broke up because her parents moved away or something. And you know, and then the summer of 89 was, you know, Good Guys Wear Black, Sinner Street, a little bit harder, a little bit more edgy, and then you know, then we were starting to play the scene in 90. But it was in 90 that we were on the verge of the deal. And as you know, it's like, we have to do this one more showcase. Like we have to wait one more, you know, the guy's on vacation. He'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, January turns into February. February turns into March.
But you did get it. You did get it. I didn't get it. You got MTV. It's documented. And what I love is you're not in a weird phase when you get, you didn't get run over by grunge. It's full Tuff. It's full from the merry-go-round. you know.
I mean, we all got run over by grunge a little bit later, but for the most part, when we came out, it was, you know, Skid Row was out, Guns N' Roses was out, Poison, Flesh and Blood was out, Warrant, you know, Cherry Pie was still, you know, on the end of that run, and yeah, so.
And I remember Janie Lane screaming good and bad, screaming at you like, wow, these guys don't even have a record deal and they're under the skin of the top 10 metal people in the country. This is amazing. It was great.
I mean, we were on the verge, it seemed like, for a long time, but when people pass, and everybody's got that story, whether it's Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains or Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, every guy's going to tell you at some point, yeah, we had a meeting with them. They told us we didn't have good songs. Oh, we had a meeting with them. They didn't like they wanted us to change the bassist. Yeah. Oh, you know, they didn't want Darcy. They didn't want a girl bassist in the band. You know, whatever. Yeah. There's always going to, everybody's been turned down tons of times.
Yeah.
And at some point, the only regret I have, if any, is that we should have physically made a product.
Totally, dude.
On our own. We should have just printed a record, a vinyl record, or the cassette, because at that point CDs weren't even that prevalent in 87, 88. They were just starting to kind of come into, people start buying cassettes and vinyl. Instead of making demos, we should have just said, you know what, let's not make 3 songs, let's make 4 or 6 like Rat and put out a self-published EP. Yeah. Motley went and did what, you know, first they did the 2-song 45. I mean, that shows you how old Motley is. Motley did the 45 first.
Yes, yes.
You know, most guys don't do 45s, you know, unless you're a punk band. The punks were doing a lot of the small vinyl pieces. But, you know, we just had to keep, you know, and that's what made it even more, I guess, impressive to some, is the people that realize how hard it was to make it on the Sunset Strip. To be popular on the Strip for a couple of weeks, that's not that hard.
Right.
To be popular for a few months, that's not that hard either. Or a summer. But to try to do that in 87, into 88, throughout the year, into 89, throughout the year, into, you know, and continue to be like, okay, now Tuff's not playing at the Whiskey on Friday night. They're playing on Friday night and Saturday night. Or they're not playing this place. They're playing this place on, you know, the Whiskey 2 shows in one night. Mm-hmm. Like we did that once where we had the Zeros open. We did an early show and a late show. The first show, the doors opened at 6, the Zeros went on at 7, we went on at 8, and when we were done, they kicked everybody out. And then the line was across, around the corner, up Clark Street, you know, halfway up to the top of the hill. There was 250 people waiting in line to get in for the second show.
What do you think the percentage was of people that saw both, that went to both shows because people were so emphatic about you?
I mean, some, they literally got kicked out. They went back and
I'm sure there was a good,
you know. So we at some point, you know, we did the one night, we did the 2 nights in a row. We went from the Whiskey and the Troubadour to the Roxy, which was a little bigger, to the Country Club. And then we're supporting, you know, the bigger bands and the bigger venues. And that's why one thing that we did, I think more than probably almost anybody, is we said, okay, well, as you know, you can only play Hollywood once a month.
Yeah, totally.
Once every 6 weeks, maybe once every 2 months. You can't play every week. It's otherwise, you know, unless you want to play, you know, the house band at the Whiskey, which some bands did that, like Love Hate, and they made it work. But we were like, Michael was like, no, we're going to play it. This weekend, we'll play Hollywood. Next weekend, we're going to go play Tucson on Friday, Phoenix on Saturday, drive home on Sunday. The weekend after that, we would drive north. Fresno on Friday, San Francisco on Saturday, then come home. Then the next weekend, we'd go play Orange County at the Marquee, and then we'd play the Waters Club in San Pedro, and then come home. And then we'd go to Vegas. So on those 3 or 4 weekends that we weren't playing, after the local show, we would start to, you know, stretch ourselves out. Yeah. And then eventually that turned into, let's go to Texas, you know. And my thought process from the very beginning was like, I know I can get us a show in Wisconsin, and we can play in California. We just got to fill a few places in
That's
between.
Amazing, man. And hey, you know, what were you gonna say? No, just incredible. And that's why so many people know about your band. I mean, more people know about your band than 90% of the bands that were, you know, had a gold record on Headbangers Ball. Dude, how did you pick the order for What Comes Around Goes Around? It always blows my mind that Good Guy, because you're a master at this. We're master set list makers here, and that Good Guys goes towards the end. It always and it's good. It works.
Yeah, well, it's the 10th track on the record.
Out of 10 tracks, like I love, not a big fatty record.
I don't remember. I didn't have any say in the song order. I want to say Howard was the one who picked the song order. But it's funny because when we got into pre-production with Howard, first thing he said, play me your 10 best songs, what you guys think are your 10 best. So we played him 10 songs. And I'm sure it was Good Guys Were Black and Forever Yours and whatever else we thought, So Many Seasons. And then he's like, okay, now play your next best 10. So we play another set of 10, Put Out or Get Out, Don't Know Where I'm Going, a bunch. He's like, okay, now play me your top 10 ideas. Not a full song, maybe you don't have lyrics, but like some riffs, some rhythms. So at some point we had a erase board or a chalkboard or some kind of wall in the rehearsal studio. So we had 10 songs listed here. That's set list A. Another 10 is set list B, and then C was an idea list. And the first idea on the idea list was this idea that George kept playing that was kind of sounded a little bit like the beginning of It's Not Love. So we called it the Dokken idea. Okay, yeah. And they started messing around with that song, and I'm sitting there and I'm kind of on the floor with a Snapple and a piece of paper, and I'm singing, I wanna take it down to the na-na-na-na, do you go down, and I'm starting to sing along. And there was a girl I was dating at the time was telling me about this childhood poem that she grew up with in Texas, and it was about the Cherry Perry Rockapits. It was like a fictitious character, like Pinocchio or Raggedy Ann or something. And so I formulated this melody, and I want to take her down to the bridge, something bridge. And I said, Ruckapit. So I wrote this idea about meeting a girl in the summer and taking her down to the Ruckapit Bridge and having my way with her. And then by the end of the fall, it's mid-September, you remember, so now it's the end of the fairy tale fantasy throughout the summer. Ruckapit Bridge was the Dokken idea from the third list and ends up being on the first list and the opening track of the record.
Wow. I love that. That was great. I mean, even just well, that's in your subconscious, kind of just like the fresh blood of where you're at that point. When that's what's cool about that record. You have some standards that you played in the clubs, and there was some new stuff.
Right. Exactly. We did have some songs that we had been playing for years and demoed, previously. But yeah, with Howard, it was such a learning experience to work with a real producer at that level and do a full record. I remember, so he not only says, okay, play me these songs, play me those songs, we got the list. Now when he starts cutting it down, okay, we're going to record this, we're going to work on this, we're going to work on this. This one and this one, nah, we're not working. Okay, we're going to work with this one and this one and this one. On this list, we're going to take this, this, and this. So now we have the 30 songs, 3 lists. Now we're like crossing stuff off and moving stuff to like the new master list.
Yeah.
Ruckapit Bridge, Lonely Lucy, So Many Seasons, Kissing You Goodbye. There was a couple other When We Were Young was another ballad. Don't Know Where I'm Going was kind of a slower balladish kind of song. Those two ended up getting cut. But when we finally, said it, okay, here's the 10 songs. Now we're going to work on the structure of the song. And I remember Howard went and stood behind Michael as he played the song. And he said, Michael, just play the drums. Todd, play straight bass. George played rhythms, no solos. Stevie, don't sing. Playing the song. And Howard sat there with a piece of paper, like a clipboard and a pen, and he's watching Michael's foot. He's watching his kick pattern. And he's like, okay, hold it. Your kick pattern is boom, 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 boom. He's like, I want you to change that. I want you to play boom, 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 boom. And he starts basically
it's real production. I've been there. Real production.
Yeah, from the very bottom. It's like the cake, the cake analogy. If you bake a birthday cake and it falls apart and you're trying to spread the frosting and the spongy part of the cake is breaking and the frosting, the knife's going in it. You got to have a solid foundation before you put over the frosting and then all the sprinkles. So he's like, the drums got to be this rock solid. this fill, simplify the fill,
Yeah.
cut out this, add this. Okay, Todd, stick it here, keep this steady here. George, do this. And so little by little, like you said, the pre-production process is building the song.
And you don't know what you have in you. That's what, like, even like now, as when I play with people, I know people that have never been through that, and you go, you don't know what you have in you at that point.
Right. And so little by little, we built the songs back up, you know, and there was changes we did to, like, a song, like you said, Good Guys Wear Black. We had played that in the clubs. We had demoed that.
Oh, yeah.
By the time Howard kind of tweaked it and rearranged some stuff and changed some things, it felt really weird at first. I'm like, I don't know if I like this. But of course, you know, after you then live with it and then you hear it and then you go, like, listen to the old demo, like, what were we doing there? What the fuck were we thinking?
Yeah.
Because there was certain little things that Howard did that changed. Even instead of playing an A, play an A minor. Instead of going to C, let's go to D here instead of F, you know, or just little things. And he was real smart. Howard was a keyboard player, but also went to school for music and theory. So he was in putting together harmonies with George on the guitar solo. I remember him being like, okay, what are you playing that? Okay, you're playing that in D. Okay, and then you're doing this on the pentatonic, and this is the harmonic, and this is, like, he was like,
oh, you know,
automatically figuring shit out in his head, and then saying, play this, and this with this note, and then he would play it, and it sounded like a Boston record all of a sudden.
Well, that's the jump. If you think even GNR from Live Like a Suicide to Appetite, that's production. Nirvana from Bleach to Nevermind. When you make that jump, that's not the band. Like when you say we play to a click track, sing the harmony, you know, it's a breakdown, and a lot of heads and hands. You go home, you hate it. There is some, like, we're not as good as we thought. You know, your confidence is you got to rape your confidence while you build up your confidence. It's a fucking weird headspace.
Right. And arguing. And I remember having lyrics that I thought were great, like for the All New Generation. I originally started to write lyrics to that was very similar to Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire.
Okay.
So I was talking about Marilyn Monroe and John F. Kennedy and fucking Ronald McDonald. Like, I was all over the place. I was talking about all kinds of different personalities and famous people, generations of them. And Howard said, Stevie, simplify this. The generations you're going to talk about is music. The music generations. Talk about the generations of music that came before you. Marilyn Monroe has nothing to do with music. Cut her out. Cut out the presidents. Cut out, you know, the clowns or whatever. Music. So then I went home and I was like, okay, let me break it down into 3 sets of generations, the 50s and the 60s. Elvis Presley, Richard Jerry, Little Richard, Buddy Berry, Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, you know, Little Richard, Elvis Presley. Then the 70s. The Who, The Doors, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, and old Van Halen. Aerosmith told you, walk this way. Notice how I say old Van Halen.
Yeah.
You know? And then the third generation was what was coming, you know, then in the 80s into the 90s. Cooper, Kiss, the Oz and Motley, Poison, Axl, John Bon Jovi, Skid Row, Is, The Youth, Gone Wild.
Yeah.
And now we're 1990, the next generation is coming. So Howard helped really taught me about lyrics, because I would come in with a full set and go, what do you think of this? And he'd grab a Sharpie and he'd be like, no, this is an okay line. I like this word. No. Keep this, keep that. He'd literally hand it back to me and there'd be like 2 lines and 10 words and he'd say, work with this. Everything else is crossed out. And I'd be like, really? And he'd be like, yeah, go in the other room.
I get it. I love it. Yeah.
So I'd go back and I'd be like, okay, I can use this word, I can use that word, and then redid it. But, you know, in the end, I mean, you know, little by little, I put the pieces together. And then, you know, the All New Generation is a song that, you know, I feel with the proper push came out a year and a half earlier. You know, that might have been our Nothing But a Good Time.
Totally. And you've written songs in that theme. You know, you have a template for that song that you use. Right. It's
American
one of your
hair band 10 years later.
It's one of your moves, and that's called having a style, which is something huge that Howard helped shape.
But it was so interesting. And I, you know, I was learning then, and I knew I was learning, but years later, just like you look back at the meetings with Kim Fowley and you go, I know what he now. I totally know what he meant now.
Oh yeah. Oh,
you didn't know that in '92.
Oh, hey man, the kid can't put his joint out and fight. Do you want this kid to smoke dope to your song or fight? But you can't have him put in the Brit. Your set lists are like put the joint out, fight. You know, and now I get it. Like you're saying, it's like, and yeah, I mean these guys are geniuses, and it's funny when you just know someone hasn't been through it, and a lot of people won't do it. A lot of people, it's just too much. You know, to be produced, to be properly produced.
Well, and that's where you start to separate thin the herd. You separate the men from the boys, because going through what we went, or being produced in a studio or working with a team like that, it's like boot camp.
Totally.
You know, it's like, okay, we're going to kick your ass. We're going to strip you down. We're going to push you to the brink of insanity.
And see, you're right.
If you're going to still be here, because a lot of guys, if they're pushed, they're going to quit. They're going to go home.
Oh, when we got produced, I remember they told Joel, our drummer, and it was Brent and Paul DeGray, really produced him, said, you basically have two nights to become a real drummer and learn how to play to a quick tracker. We're going to have the drummer of Faster Pussycat, Brett Bradshaw, R.I.P., play the drums. And we sat at Western, just right? Like, we got to fucking do this. No, this is how it happens where a guy doesn't play on an album. Whoa, we did it by the skin of our teeth. We did it. So we got to rape your confidence. Yeah, it was. But so speaking of, dude, how cool is it when you really think things work out in such a fucking weird way that Rhino, this record means enough, because Rhino is not like being reissued on a B level or C level. This is the top reissue company putting this record out. I got chills when you sent me that it was coming on Rhino. It's so it's got to feel triumphant, man.
Well, and technically it's actually going to be on RLS, but Rhino is giving me the license to do so. So getting approved by Rhino Entertainment, a Warner Music Group company.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
You can't just call them up and say, hey, I want to release a record. You know, I'm going to put out the such and such. So yeah, I had to jump through some hoops and do a lot of stuff. But I proved to be,
you proved yourself.
I proved to be qualified, because as a matter of fact, where did I put it? I have the contract. I got a contract.
Pretty huge, man. That's pretty huge. I mean, like you pulled this.
And I actually got this last year. I was working on this since
I remember you saying
spring.
you were going to tell me so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got it last year, but I thought, okay, it doesn't make sense to put it out. The pandemic was obviously, we're living in fucking who knows where land at this point. We didn't know what was going on. I thought it doesn't make any sense to announce it. Doesn't make any sense to do it. And I also thought, okay, 6-8 more months from now, in May of 2021, it's the 30th anniversary. 30th anniversary makes more sense than the 29th anniversary. So I kind of had to sit on it for a while. I mean, Todd knew, Michael knew, a couple other people. I did, I mean, you obviously knew before most people.
I
told you a couple months ago, but I was sitting on it, even 4, 5, 6 months ago, even though this was, all in the works. I was like, man, I gotta make sure that the fucking ink is dry and, everything's been approved, because, they'll let me do some they let me do some changing to the graphics outside the cover, but everything's got to be approved. And I was like, I was also trying to get, a licensing fee together, and then, putting the CD into manufacturing and the vinyl. Not a cheap project, and to do it right, everything's been remastered, as you've heard it, and some other people have heard it. And the big announcement was actually on the anniversary, which was, Friday, May 14th, the exact 30-year anniversary of the record coming out. And now it's a wait for production. CDs I will probably have by the second week of June. So CDs, anybody that's pre-ordered a CD,
and we'll put a link to all the bundles and everything that you're offering in the.
Yeah, and the CDs will ship in June. Vinyl's going to be definitely down the road a bit, as anybody knows that's in this business. The vinyl manufacturing process is definitely it's a little bit more drawn out.
Oh, they're swamped, dude. It's like ordering. I did it with it's like ordering a space shuttle. What I mean?
Exactly. It's like ordering a Tesla. It's like saying, I want a Tesla car. It's like, okay, well, in 4 months we'll let you know when it's going to be on the line.
Yeah.
But because there's so few plants, and what happened is it's become kind of a buzz thing and a trendy thing for people to do vinyl. But what's really saturated the plants is when the buzz hits with vinyl, and then Warner Brothers calls up and goes, "Hi, vinyl plant? Yes. Oh, guess what we're going to do? We're going to reissue our entire back catalog. We want to put out all 10 Van Halen records,
Yeah,
remastered, deluxe edition, box sets. Oh, and we're going to do Black Sabbath, and we're going to do Ozzy, and we're going to do Queensryche and REO Speedwagon and Kansas and Foghat and Foreigner and Creedence Clearwater Revival and so when all the back catalog has now been remixed, remastered, reissue, and deluxe versions, that's what's really filling up the plants. So when somebody calls and says, "Hey, we're going to do the Roxy Blue Tuff Rhino Bucket on vinyl for a low run of numbers," they're like, "Okay, well, we're in the process of printing 100,000 copies of the Pearl Jammer.
It's just another just a
And
mountain, the same mountain we've been climbing since '87. It's the same mountain." But dude, that record is so beautiful. People have to look at how that record is just beautiful. You have one of these? I do. I have one of that record. I have, yes.
The Atlantic version, yeah.
But I want to get. I'm a big liner notes guy, so I know that you're adding some stuff in. So I'm going to pre-order the one with the lot. I like a little bit of stuff in there.
This thing is going to look amazing when everybody gets their hands on it. The coolest thing I was saying to somebody else is, seeing our record on vinyl. The thing that was so cool is, as a kid growing up, when we listened to Foreigner or Motley Crue, and you'd see, like for instance, as I pull out the Motley record, that Elektra label, that's such a cool thing to see. And so the classic Atlantic logo with the green and the orange, and then as you get close, you see it's tough. What comes around goes around. I've had so many records, Foreigner records, Genesis, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin records in the past that have that logo on it. That Atlantic logo, and to be part of that at some point. And this was only manufactured on vinyl in Europe.
Okay.
This was not released on vinyl in America. It was only released on CD in America and cassette. And then in America, or in Europe, they did the vinyl, plus they did the CD. And then
all of which go for
another CD.
All of which are crazy expensive on eBay. Which are crazy expensive on eBay right now.
Yeah, the CDs usually are in about the $50 range.
Without the inserts.
The Japanese version is black.
Okay.
Not purple. But then they also have the Japanese insert, which is all the lyrics and stuff in Japanese.
Wow. It's crazy.
And so yeah, these are the Atlantic pieces over the years became collector's items because it didn't sell triple platinum, so there wasn't millions of pieces in production or in circulation. And as they've slowly went away over the course of time, they're becoming more and more valuable. Like the vinyl Discogs, 150 pounds, what is that, $190, $200 almost. So the vinyl we're doing, it's traditional black, also doing a purple and a white. There's a multicolor, multiple page insert. As you see, the original insert for this vinyl was just the white sleeve.
Right.
The record. But we're going full deal, and the booklet on the CD went from 12 pages. Like, this is the original booklet. It's 12 pages, but it's just basic black and white.
Yeah.
So we went full color throughout. Added 4 pages. It's 16 pages. Plus, we went through a grip of photos from the original merry-go-round photo shoot. We got single shots of the guys and some other group shots. And both packages are essentially deluxe versions. There's a ton of great stuff in there that you're not going to see in the first, the other options that are floating around eBay for 5 times the price.
And everybody can pre-order it with these links. They can pre-order
Absolutely.
whatever they. And can they get the shirt there too? Dude, this shirt is the best. I
got a few shirts. I got that one, and then we got what comes around goes around. I have art style one, and then a whole bunch of stuff. The RLS catalog has everything from Tuff and my solo stuff and Wild Side and Veins of
Yeah.
Jenna and
Yeah.
Nitro and Kings of Sunset Strip and a whole bunch of other releases that I've been involved with somehow, whether it was through management, producing, releasing. There's an endless list of stuff if anybody wants.
That they'll love it. And we'll put it, dude, what's really cool about this is you're finally doing some, you've done so much in these past few years for other people and great things, Veins of Jenna, Early Ray, that you're doing something for yourself. I know those, you know, you're always there to help someone from me in 87, but you're doing this for yourself and Tuff. I think that's so cool, man.
Yeah, I'm stoked as well. Michael and Todd were super stoked with what they saw. I'm really excited. There's a few things that I haven't told anybody about yet. When the vinyl and the CDs are in people's hands and they open it up for the first time, I think they're going to be shocked because I didn't spare any expense. You know, sometimes people will put out a vinyl record, but it'll come and, you know, no diss to them, but you know, if you open it up and it's just a white sleeve and there's nothing in there but the record, I've done a few things to say, you know what, I want the people to open it up and I want them to be a little bit wowed. You know, the first time I opened up the Motley Crue record, I was like, what the fuck? You know, Gatefold, you know.
Oh my God.
5-2 or whatever. That's the kind of stuff that makes your head just go like, I want it to be above and beyond what people are expecting. So can't wait, you know, when these pieces are actually in my hand and then I can send them out.
It's almost going to be like candy. Certain things are like candy. When you touch them, you go, oh, they just like being a kid in the candy aisle. They just make you happy, man. And that
well,
record.
and that's something about these pieces. Like I've had a few people ask me questions and say, not everybody's going to listen to vinyl, or why does somebody want a vinyl, or is there a need for vinyl? But it's like Kiss has a certain amount of fans. Kiss has never went diamond. They never sold a record that sold 10 million copies, but they've consistently had records that have sold gold or platinum for 40 years and all the trinkets to go with it. When somebody that's a diehard Kiss fan that's 56 years old is looking online and they see the new Dynasty Kiss lunchbox with the thermos and it's $29.99, you know, and they order it, they're not ordering it because they're going to take their lunch to work in it. But once that comes and it's on their desk and then their buddy stops by, dude, check it out. It's got the thermos and everything. You know, it's kind of like
totally.
It's kind of like a coffee table book. You want to look at it. And that's what these pieces are for the diehard Tuff collector, to pick up the vinyl, open it up, like you said, the liner notes, read all the stuff that they at one point maybe had on a CD that was this big. Now it's going to come in a full 12 by 12 inch vinyl, and you know.
And even if you're not the Tuff collector, this is a record. Like if I had a friend who was like new to the stream, like we know what Appetite's like. If you don't want to go Appetite, Too Fast for Love, this says what it's about, and right. You can look in that picture, look in that record, and it is a time capsule of this is such a photograph snapshot of this time that hasn't been overly rammed down your throat, that you haven't maybe attached 1,000 things to already in preconceived notions. This is it.
Well, and that's the cool thing, you know, as the internet's evolved, and when we started doing Metal Sludge in the late 90s, myself and Sean, we wanted to cover the big bands from the era, the Motleys, the Poisons, the Guns N' Roses, you know, Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, talk about Skid Row, Van Halen, LA Guns, whatever. But we also felt excited to bring people an interview with the singer from Slick Toxic, or Andrew L from Sleazebees, or, you know, Jim from Nitro, or this guy from Rhino Bucket. And Tuff is one of those bands that kind of falls into that obscurity D-list category. But we also, like you said, we are what that record is. That represents a time and a place for the end of that era, you know, just as it was coming into the 90s, and we represent what the Sunset Strip was, and the whole thing that we had worked hard for many years. And I'm excited to reissue this, because I think as good as a record as it was, I don't feel like we didn't get a fair shake. I think we got a real fair shake, but it just didn't go where we wanted it to. And in the end, the cassettes outsold the CDs by a long shot. So there is minimal amount of product that's out there, and if somebody wants it, they're like, fuck, I don't want to spend $60 for a fucking CD.
Yeah.
You know, plus shipping. And if they're in Europe, you know, Christ, add another $20 to it.
Yeah.
So the fact that I had it remastered. You've now had a chance to hear it. I mean,
oh yeah, dude, mind blowing. Come on, it needed that. It needs to keep up with everything
well,
on
that's
my
the thing
thing.
that people have asked me. They're like, what's different? I'm like, well, listen, the technology in 2020, 21 is 30 years advanced from where it was in 1990 or 91.
Well, as even a DJ, I can see your wave, because so many times when I'm DJing metal, I'll be like, oh man, that icon thing, I got to turn that up because the wave's so thin, and you can see a healthy wave. And when I was loading these in, I see a nice healthy wave, which is really important for
and for anybody that's got a CD player still, if you put in a CD that you bought 20 years ago and you put it in and the volume is on 20, and then you put in a new issued Nickelback or Five Finger Death Punch or something that's brand new, the volume's going to sound about almost double the I mean, it's just going to be that much fuller. The everything is brought out. I mean, Todd said to me, Todd Chase called me after the fact. He goes, dude, I'm hearing shit on these songs I don't remember fucking hearing. I don't remember.
No, it's
I
nice.
can hear my bass lines now that I barely remember.
Well, even like on a good guy where black, where the bass is pumping and the guitar is doing like an Armored Saint type riff, it really comes together and has a cool sound, man.
Yeah. So I'm stoked, man. And hey, I want to thank you for putting me on here, and thank you for plugging Tuff on the You Think You're Tough show and all this stuff.
And anybody, and I love that you love it. You're such a good sport about everything, and everybody loves the logo, and I love that you got behind it.
Right.
Can we get a special shout out to Chris, our 13-year-old #1 Tuff fan, who we actually have a command to shout out to the #1 Tuff fan in the stream. Can we get a what's up, Chris?
Chris, dude, thank you very much for being a Tuff fan. You guys are black to you. I mean, all the fans. I mean, you had sent me, people, comments. You're like, dude, check this out, check that out, check this out. I appreciate you plugging the stuff and keeping my name burning. And when you plug Sludge or plug anything I've done, dude, it's very appreciated.
Well, I love that I can call you a friend, and I'm a fan, man. And hang out so I can say goodbye to you as I'm going to kill this recorder and say goodbye to you.
Okay, all good, man.